What if we could unlock the wisdom and aspiration to life's opportunities and challenges with a conversation? Hello, I'm your guide and host, Chief Ethy Bell, welcoming you to the Uncommon Conversation. Today, in honor of Black History Month, we are going to be talking to Black thought leaders from around the globe. This series is called Black Legacy Architects Uncommon Conversations of Wisdom and Aspiration. We're going to dive into the essence of legacy. So, we're going to explore this metaphor of the legs of legacy stand on the shoulders of giants, embodying the tension between leveraging our rich heritage and forging a future of our collective legacy between generations. So, I want to welcome our guests today. Each of our guests embodies two critical roles in the process. They're either the legs of the legacy, or which means they're actively shaping the present and the future, or they are the shoulders of giants of which the legs stand upon. And those who have paved the way, especially women who have contributed significantly. Perhaps they're both or one and the same in this moment and movement of fostering this thriving ecosystem of Black legacy across the globe. So, a warm welcome to our guest, the legs of legacy shaping the future, and the shoulders of giants upon which we stand and nurturing that ecosystem. I'm thrilled for our conversation today. So, let's jump into our first question. So, to get us started, I want to invite you to introduce yourself, share your name, city, age, your favorite ice cream, if you want to, what you're passionate about, and a quote that speaks to you about your view of Black legacy. So we're going to invite Sadia to go first.
Hello, my name is Halimatu Sadia Adam. I go by Sadia. I was born and raised in Ghana, West Africa. I lived in Spain for a couple of years, and I relocated to United States a couple of 12 years ago. I'm 42 years old, and my favorite ice cream is cookies and cream. What else?
Something that you're passionate about?
I'm passionate about helping people wherever I find myself. And my favorite quote, well, I just came across it. It says, soul has no color, no shape, no form. I think it's by Beyonce.
Okay.
Realize that this with this the kind of society and the world we live in, we're all the same. We all have the same color. It doesn't matter where you're coming from, whether black or white, we're all the same. So we need to treat each other as such and wherever we find ourselves.
And you're now living in, what city are you in?
Roseville, Kentucky.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Fantastic. Vince, we want to invite you. Welcome, Sadia.
Thank you.
Sadia. I don't know why I want to say it the different way, but Sadia.
Sadia, yes.
Yeah. Vince, I want to invite you to introduce yourself.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Vince Pass. You see how easy that came. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, my name is Vince Pass. I live in Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York. It's a lot that can be said just about this. The first question. I love peanut butter ice cream, especially peanut butter and butter pecan. My favorite. So if you ever stop by UDF, you know what to get me. What I'm passionate about people. My goal in life is always to see people. I like to leave people better than I met them. My goal is always driven, especially in the industry that I'm in. I'm a fast food manager, I'm a restaurant manager. So, for me, people is natural. A quote that I try to live by was by Johnny Cochran, the late Johnny Cochran, is we are the thinkers that create the thoughts that create the things. And with that, it's self-explanatory. No matter what situation you're in, no matter where you at, you could be homeless on the street, you can be in the penitentiary, you could be sitting on Mount Rushmore in a snowstorm. You know what I mean? You are the thinkers that create the thoughts that create the things. So everywhere that we have gone on the face of the earth, we created any and everything. It doesn't matter what it is. You know, from a braid of hair, from a strand of hair, we've created things, and our imprint is always left on the world. So, you know, I try to live by that every day by trying to leave a fingerprint on the world.
Thank you. Fantastic. This is going to be a good conversation. I'm super excited. There's a wealth of knowledge and experience and perspective here today. So let's move to our first major question, right? In exploring the personal and communal aspects of legacy. So just a quick story. You know, as a young child, and then my grandmother used to tell me this story about the sacrifices that she made for her children, right? She wanted to be a nurse when she was younger, and she decided to take the path of motherhood so that her children would have the opportunity to pursue whatever they were passionate about. And as an adult, when I mused over that gift of sacrifice, it really brought me to this metaphor of how the legs of legacy, right, stand on the shoulders of giants, right? So my grandmother decided that she would move into the giant space, even as a young woman, so that her children's legs could be the legacy of her future and the future of others as well within our family generation. So when you reflect on this thought and this concept, do you see yourself as the legs of legacy, or do you see yourself as a giant, and why?
Well, I think that for me, I'm twofold. I think I'm both the legs and I'm a giant. Being in Cincinnati over these last 22 years, you know, first, whew, it's been great. I've had the opportunity to touch a lot of lives, leave a fingerprint on a lot of people. The creativity of this is not easy, to be able to penetrate the process of people and how they think, and how to get them to see not even the bigger picture, but just to see a picture, a different picture. And it takes a lot of work to be able to understand where your level of patience has to lie in this, because you know we're living in a microwavable society where things is right now. You know, let me get that new cell phone right now. Let me get these new Jordans right now. Let me get this microwavable ramen noodles right now. Everything is right now. You know, nothing these days is left to the process of picking, pruning, tilling, turning over, ripping out. You know, and a lot of people want to move on farmland that's already harvesting, instead of learning how to create the farmland themselves, how to become at one with the land, become at one with the earth. You know, everyone wants that thing now. So when you think about all of us that are doing the work on the ground, you know what I'm saying? And shout out to all the people that are doing work on the ground. Shout out to all the people who don't get their names in the history books, who don't get their names on the street corner, who don't get their names talked about throughout the world. But just know that your name is being spoken about in the hood, you know, in all of the positive things that you have done, even in your church, you know, even in your family. You know, those legacies is just as important. And so, you know, we can't just think that just because our names don't get put up in lights, that we aren't contributing to the movements.
Mhm. Thank you.
I'll get to the giant part later.
Okay. Sadia.
Yeah, yes. I would think I am the legs of legacy.
Okay.
In every situation or everywhere in my line of work, I always try, to live a life that or attach a life that makes the person happy and make me happy at the same time. Wherever I go, I try to continue the legacy, or continue the whatever people I come across with, I try to, as much as I can, help the people that I can. Try to shape the direction in which I'm going. Try to also leave a fingerprint or whatever I do in life in order to also leave a legacy, or also to preserve the legacies that our forefathers or our ancestors leave behind. Because if you don't preserve it, the future, the generation will not have nothing to talk about. So it's always good to live a good life. Let the future know that there are legacies that are need to be followed. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you think about the fingerprint of those that, that you mentioned about leaving a fingerprint, but honoring those fingerprints before you, do you have you had moments in your life where you see yourself as, I'm upholding the next generation?
Yes, absolutely. I do. I always try, yes, uphold the generation to forge ahead and continue the legacy that has been left behind.
That means you're both.
Yes, I'm both.
Right, like it's really situational. There might be a moment where, I'm the giant and someone's standing on me, and there's a moment when I'm the legs running and creating that legacy of what that will be. And it can even be it can happen so fast, it can happen within minutes of each other.
Absolutely, yes.
In different situations. So when we think about, go ahead, Vince.
No, you're good.
Okay.
I mean, just understanding that, the shoulders of this thing, I tell you, when you become a giant, or when you're working in a giant space, like you said, it can happen so fast. You don't even realize that you're becoming a giant. And and I have to preference, I don't know what people believe in, but I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. I believe in the Holy Spirit. I believe that God will always make sure you got shoulders big enough to handle what the mission is. And you may not be given a flock to minister to. You know what I mean? You may be given one sheep, but that one sheep holds the important job of one day ministering to the flock. So that's why it doesn't matter whether you're speaking to a crowd of 10,000 or even just one person. You have to know that the effect the impact is what it's about, that you leave on the individual or the individuals is what resonates. You know what I'm saying? In the mission, because all we doing is passing the baton off. This is a long track meet. You know what I mean? So, we not just we running a 4 million by 4 million. You know what I mean? We're running a 4 million by 4 million. So, we constantly handing the baton off. You know what I mean? There's gonna be some people that's gonna be part legs that's in part of the race that may not keep up. You got some people that's in part of the race that's gonna be able to fly ahead. You got some people that's gonna be in a race that can keep pace. You know what I mean? But just make sure that as you know that you're handing off the baton. You know what I mean? You have to know, one, what you're handing off and how important it is for them to understand that you can't drop this baton. You know what I mean? This is the impact that you have to know that you're leaving for the people or for the person. You know what I mean? You have to understand that. And so when you are talking about the legacy of Black people, being that, we already are fighting, what Bill Cosby said, lost, stolen, and strayed, our history is already being that. They're already doing, they've been questioning CRT for years. They're already taking history out of the schools. They already are doing everything to make sure that slavery will never be a pinnacle conversation in any level of education. Again, you know, when you have all of these things that are against us, when we're talking about the legs and the giants and the architects, you know, we have to know that when we give out this information, this is soulful. This is things that come from generations and eons of hard work, and people died for this, like literally died for this. So the information that you passing on is life. You know what I mean? It's life. It's nothing harmful about it. You know what I mean? And so when we giving out this, when we give, because we literally giving it away. I get upset sometimes at people that be trying to charge for this information, I swear. But, you know, we're giving it away, and we're giving it to them, understanding that hopefully you understand who we're giving it to, that the price that's being paid, that has been paid for this already, is bigger than you'll ever know. But right now, because you don't know how big this price is, okay, here, let me go ahead and lay it out for you. I'm not going to give it to you in dollar bills. I'm going to give it to you in pennies. Let me break it all the way down for you. So we just have to also be careful about, you know, about the money we're giving away. You know what I'm saying? So, you know.
The currency we use, right?
The currency we use, yeah. So that's why when you become that giant in this thing, it's like you also got to be careful.
Be a steward.
You got to be careful who you're giving this information to. Because not everybody is privileged, is privy to have it, but not everybody's gonna be responsible with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and that's, I mean, these are, whew, it's gonna be a good conversation, right? And I hear the wisdom coming through and just that revelation as well. So, moving to our next question. So, you know, we're celebrating Black Voices this month and in honor of Black History Month. And just for some context, because this is a global conversation, you know, Black History Month is predominantly celebrated in the United States, and it is designed to recognize the contributions, the strides, the challenges, the history, you know, all these different elements that make up African Americans in the United States. But for me, when I think about Black History Month, I really cannot think about that without thinking about the heritage connections across the globe. And so this conversation is really about Black voices, right? It's still looking at it through the lens of Black History Month because Black History Month, which is funny, I always think about History Month. And I'm like, we sometimes go so far back in history. I'm like, well, yesterday was history, because it isn't today and then it's not tomorrow. So that makes it history, right? But as we think about Black History Month and Black Voices this month, an important celebration is looking at the contributions and the significance of Black women and how they have played a pivotal role in legacy building. I tell people all the time, if you are standing on any giant's shoulders, at somewhere in that line is a Black woman. Period. There's just, I don't care whether you're yellow, green, purple, orange. If you are standing on the shoulders of a giant and you don't exist without that, somewhere in that lineage is the contribution and influence of a Black woman. And so I want to ask you all to kind of think about, you know, this question, but I want to push you to think differently than just our family members and teachers. When we talk about contributions of Black women, we always talk about, and it's beautiful because it's significant. We typically talk about our mothers, we talk about our sisters, our aunts or grandmothers, or we talk about a teacher, right? And so because this is an uncommon conversation, I want to push us past that piece. And so when we think about the strength and the wisdom of what we've seen for Black women, what is, how have Black women contributed to legacy building, and what have their contributions done for your journey? How have Black women contributed to legacy building in the Black community, and how have they contributed to your journey as well? So we'll start with Sadia again, if you'd like to go next, or we could, whichever way, y'all, when y'all are ready, jump on in.
That's a lot. And well, you did mention not to, you know, go the direction of family relationship. I was gonna mention my mom, but
yeah, you still can, but I'll ask you to add on.
Yeah, well, I'll also say Michelle Obama. I think she has impacted a lot of lives. and she has paved the way to young generation coming in that no matter where you are, no matter what you do, you can do it. Once you set your mind to do it, absolutely you can do it. You just have to believe in yourself, and then just do what you can do, and then leave the rest, you know.
How did she inspire you on your journey?
She inspired me that no matter the situation, no matter where you're coming from, just keep on pushing, just believe in yourself that you're gonna be able to make it, you're gonna do it once you set your mind, your goal, aspirations to do it. And also I also recommend you too, or commend you too, for bringing me into this conversation. I was kind of like, didn't know if I should go in it. It's my first time. American history. I've been in America for a couple of years, a long time. I've never paid attention to Black history. I always heard so much about Black history, but I've never paid attention to what actually it is. And you have made me to research a little bit about Black history. I have gone into YouTube, hearing videos about things happened years ago. Some riots happened, and it's really helped me to change my narrative and perception about Black history. So yes, has helped me and will help me a lot. And I'll continue to research into Black History Month and know what happened, then move on. And also encourage my other Black community to also is research into it and know what happened years and years ago that made us, or that made America to be what it is today.
Yeah. And you can still mention your mom. I would feel a myth if I didn't let you talk about your
mom. My mom, she has made me who I am today. Without her, I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't be I wouldn't be the woman that I am today if not for her. Yeah.
That's a powerful message, right? Like when you said Michelle, it's interesting. I was just talking with somebody the other day about the powerful example she set by having her mother move into the White House with her.
Yes.
I mean, it seemed so small, but it was so significant.
So big, yes.
So significant.
Yeah.
And the impact that it had on her children.
I think without her mom, she wouldn't have been able to move on, to get the courage to do what she actually did. Because for every successful person, there's always somebody behind you, encouraging you and pushing you to be your best.
Yeah, because otherwise she'd been worrying constantly about her children.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Vince.
I'm here. This listening to y'all, Of course, I gotta give a shout out to my moms, God, bless her. She's no longer with us. She's been gone for a while now. But I definitely want to, preference my sisters, my grandmother. I want to say Gloria Almeida, who was my performing arts teacher back in elementary school, who always knew I had a voice. Dr. Young, my high school choir teacher, who always knew I was going to do some other things. And my mentor, who passed away many years ago, Dr. Shashi McIntyre. So I have to say, for me, when I think about Black women, first of all, I salute y'all. I'm about to cry right now. Because what a lot of people don't really understand, is that the movement, all the movements stood on your backs. Y'all are the true giants in this. And so when I think about the history of America and I think about how the civil rights movement even began, people they talk about Rosa Parks, but they don't talk about the black women's movement that was already taking place. They don't talk about the women of Fisk University who helped plan, understand, listen what I said, helped plan the bus boycott. They don't speak about that. They don't speak about how even in the Black Panther movement, the women were the strength behind the voice of the men. And we can go on and on and on. We can name people, we can name places, we can name things. We can name the creativity of Black women. When we wouldn't even be in space if it wasn't for three of them. Wouldn't have the cell phone if it wasn't for one. Wouldn't have it wouldn't have so much if it wasn't for the contribution of Black women. And it goes so overlooked because we get caught up as Black men in this man's world and want to be a part of the the good old boys group because we feel like that level of inclusion will give us access. When the truth is that we've always had access. We've always been excluded because we didn't need to be included because we our own gang. And so we our own gang, you know what I'm saying? So, when I think about one woman, I can't think about one woman. I got to think about Miss Fernandez, who lived on my 6th floor. I think about Granny. Both of matter of fact, and my foster mother. I think about them. I got to think about the women in my community who, when they used to see us outside, used to snatch us up. You know what I'm saying? So, it's not just about, again, it's not just about the ones who names are up in lights. It's also about the ones who were outside on the bench, watching your back when things were happening and you didn't see it coming. So, you can only imagine how much Black history means to me. And we have Malcolm and Martin and all of the men that are in front, but by God, there were more women behind us than we will ever know. So I apologize, Chief, for getting emotional about it, but the world doesn't know how pivotal the Black woman here in America has always been to where we're at right now.
I tell people, you made me think about if it wasn't, in general, every movement would have just starved to death if it wasn't for Black women. Across the globe, every movement would have starved to death and I mean that literally and figuratively, right? I remember when I think about, I don't have a name, right? But they're a collective group that represents something for me. So when I first traveled to Ghana, I remember when I got to Tamale and we were riding from the airport and we were riding through town and I saw the market and I don't know why it was astonishing to me in that moment, but when I looked at the market and I'm like, look at that power. And I was just like, that right there, because most of the people in the market working are women.
Yeah.
And for me, I looked at it and I said, a society is standing on them. If I can't access food, if I can't access the things and materials we need, not only will a movement starve, but a society will starve. And I just thought about, like when I fast forward to that, like as you were talking, Vince, all the women who made sure that I ate something, who were cooking for us as we were doing whatever activity we were on our journey in my visit for chieftaincy to Tamale, it's just, it's astounding, and I think it's important to uplift. And it's not to exclude anyone. It's not to or restrict anyone or downplay the contributions of anyone else. It's just to elevate up that underground thing that has been occurring without the proper what's the word I'm looking for, recognition that it has been. So incredible stories of tributes and triumph and the influence of Black women on our lives and legacies, not only here in the United States, but all across the globe. And the strength and wisdom that they continue to provide to light our way. So let's think about this, complex, landscape of Black legacy and what does it mean, right? And so, when I think about the legacy, how do we bridge this thing, right? So we've got multiple generations in our spaces, right? We're witnessing the creation of these new platforms. I'm saying it in this quotation thing of, these voices are emerging. We're seeing these new platforms come along, which is fantastic, right? Because without innovation, we're gonna shrivel up and become nothing. But there's been a significant shift in the number of new tables, and to the point that people are actually naming it the table, right? Like this table and that table. I'm like, how many tables do we need, right? And so when we think about this bridge between generations or that tension, right? So if I think about I'm a giant and somebody's standing on my shoulders, that means their dirty feet are like right here on my face and they kicking up the dirt every time they move, right? And I'm kind of looking up like, excuse me, could you keep some of that down a little bit? Because I'm choking on the dirt from your feet, right? And so sometimes the legs are like, oh, you'll be okay, or they forget where they're standing and that they're kicking up this dirt, and they forget to remember to honor the pieces and places that they stand. And so when I think about the legs of legacy right now, that whatever age it might be, because some of this is young people, but some of this is older people, right? They're creating all these new tables. And what is that dynamic doing to this need for Black legacy? It's like I'm seeing this strain in the rubber band, right? This tension pull is getting a bit too tight, and it could fray or snap at any point. And so how do you view this new dynamic? What are your thoughts around this tension pull, and what do we need to do?
You mind if I go first, Sadia?
Yeah, go ahead.
One of the things that we have to understand is that we're dealing with a different time. So I was speaking about this the other day, and we had a GM meeting, and I was speaking to them, and I was explaining to them that we are in post-COVID. Okay, COVID did some serious damage. Besides just the death piece, we're dealing with a gap in everyone. It's as if a moment of time is missing. People don't forgot what the struggle was about. People don't forgot to even go to work. People forgot how to fill out job applications. People have forgotten what they have to do to live. And everyone is in this relaxed survival mode.
Interesting.
As if the expectation of what was happening during COVID is still able to exist right now. Not understanding that we are in this time period of post-COVIDness where we're dealing with a weaker minded generation, because you have to understand that without the assembly of like they say, don't forsake the assembly of the church. So when you have the separation of people, right, not interacting with one another, that created a whole different social dynamic. Okay, people didn't know how to interact with one another when they came out the house. People didn't know how to take one another. People didn't know how to speak to one another. We're still experiencing a level of hypersensitivity around the globe that is so powerful that we are honestly on the brink of war every place around the world, not just with just the big machines, but in your own home, in the streets, wherever you at. We are on the brink of war everywhere. All because, people have forgotten the mission. People have forgotten how to. It's like people have to be retrained again on how to do things. So when you have these gaps of what we're talking about, we're not just talking about gaps in respect and in how kids reverence the elders and the elders reverence everyone is looking at one another like they got talking two heads. And no one wants to approach one another. And so when they do, they don't know how to communicate with one another. It's a big communication gap that's in between. It's the great divide right now. And so, when you look at everything that's going on in the world, everything stems from communication and the lack thereof. So how do we combat it? Let me tell you something. People have to at this point understand that if you want to go to heaven, you're gonna have to die. Everybody want to go to heaven, but nobody want to die. Everybody want to be rich, but nobody want to work. everybody want to keep buying champagne with beer money.
Kool-Aid
Come
money.
on, let's make it make sense. So we're dealing with hypersensitivity. We're dealing with ego, a lot of ego. We're dealing with people who need some how-to books, okay? And we're dealing with a social media platform that is supposed to be in the place of real news. So we have that influence going on. We have everyone's a digital creator. We have a lot of divides that are happening, but a lot of this stemmed, honestly, I believe it was here, but what happened was when COVID happened, it just blew it up. So now the genie is out the bottle for real. So now we got to find a way. Everyone has to find a way of putting the genies back in the bottle. But no one wants to come out of this unrealistic place. No one wants to be in the real area anymore. And so now when we're talking about unifying, bringing things together, talking history, and we're trying to come to the table. Now I have to ask the question, what are you at the table for? What is your true intention of being at the table? What are we talking about? Are you really trying to make a name for yourself, or you really are trying to establish the things that are necessary for when you leave here, because we all got to outdate. Excuse me. For when you leave here, it's going to still be here for someone else. Yeah. So I mean, I'm sorry, Chief. When you asked that question, it just triggered something in me. You know what I'm saying? That we've got to get to the place of understanding, and I think that the reason why this divide is so wide is because the microwavable system, and everyone is void. Many people are just void of understanding. So I mean, how do we fix it? We got to start with ourselves. We have to retool ourselves. It's me versus me. That's why I wore this sweater today, because it's me versus me every day. People forget that. It's you versus you. So the next time a person is sitting in front of you, and you're giving them some jewels and some food, don't forget the first person you preach to is yourself. So if you're not practicing this thing, be careful with what you say. Because it tell you in the word, man, that the tongue is a sharp sword that cut both ways.
Yeah. Sadia, how are we going to fix tension? Where is it coming from? What are we going to do about it? Is it the right way? And are we stuck? Or do we need a different way?
It's a lot there.
It's a lot there. I know.
Yeah.
That's why we're talking about it, because we're not talking about it, right?
The world is changing. it's evolving rapidly, and with COVID, like you mentioned, COVID coming in, everything is it's not how it used to be. The perception of our life has changed, and people just, I think, are tired now. What they used to do, they don't want to do it anymore. They just want to, they just want to live. And so I think it'd be better. It was good. The world come together, which I don't know if it will be possible, come together to work. To work together and just forge ahead.
I think about community, right?
Yeah.
And I think, if we redefine or update the definition of community to be a little bit more dynamic than static, right? Right now, we're in community, right? We're having a conversation about a topic that we've got to talk about. And just the idea that the three of us are having a conversation is shifting it in moment in time, right? Because it's really mindset that we're talking about. We've got to deal with the mind if we want things to change, right? If the mind goes first and everything else will follow. And so when we kind of think about, what you were saying, Vince, about COVID and these social norms that have shifted all of a sudden. And it's like we don't have the same tolerance or bandwidth or strength or backbone that we need, to engage through the sticky stuff to get to the beauty of it all.
Right.
And we become impatient and I hear people say, like, I love this quote and I hate this quote all at the same time, right? If they won't let you at the table, bring your own chair, but not if you're just gonna sit there. We don't need you at the table if you just want to sit in your chair, right? And be seen, right? If you're not actively engaging, and I don't mean that just about young, I'm not talking about any age, any demographic, but we're talking about Black legacy. We can see these, if you look at a church or you look at just about most of the nonprofits or, or any kind of committees or these different things, you're seeing the leadership top, everybody's over the age of 60. So it's kind of like, why aren't the giants shifting?
Well, let me chime in on that.
Yeah.
Now you have a lot of people that don't know when to move out the way. Okay. Just because this. Okay, so I'm gonna use this example. All right. So remember when our grandmothers, our grandparents, they used to wash clothes in the South with the pail bucket.
Yep.
With the washboard, right?
Washboard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, I learned how to wash my clothes from that way.
Yep.
I learned how to wash my shirts in my tub in my house when I have access to a washing machine. Well, I didn't have $1 to go around the corner to wash and dry, because back then washing was 50 cents, drying was like 10 cents, right? As we get older, okay, technology begins to develop, right? So now I'm going to the washing machine. I'm going to the dryer. I got money, right? So we teaching our kids exactly where we start at, right? We starting them off with a washing machine, right? So now we got a new space age washer dryer in the house now, right?
Yeah.
So now we teach them how to wash clothes in here, right? But you know why? As we don't know how to move out the way, because we still remembering how hard it was before we got the washer and dryer. And because it's so convenient to use this space age washer and dryer, we're not going to teach them how to wash by hand again.
And they don't want to know.
They don't want to know.
For what? And that's where the rub is. That's when the
That's
dirty
it.
stuff. I don't want to know how to wash clothes in the wash machine. Listen, I tell people all the time, especially my children, I'm like, listen, if it goes down, which it has the high potential that it just might, maybe not, we don't know. But if it does, what are you gonna do when the power goes out? There's no gasoline and the water ain't working.
Use your hands.
It's gonna happen, right? Like
Yeah.
it could just be a bad storm come through and all of that'll be gone. And y'all gonna be sitting around some salty children.
Yeah.
Right? Just looking at each other. So I said to her, I said, listen, you should have at least 2 full bags of barbecue, charcoal, right?
Yep.
You know, she's got a grill, whatever. She's got cast iron pots. You know why? Here's a grill, there's cast iron pots. And so I said, if the power goes out, use the grill. She said, but with what? I said, you put the cast iron pot on the grill. Like, and do what? Cook. You know, I'm just like, man, come on. You know, I'm like, you put it on there and then there you go. It's just it's a stove all over again.
1 and 1 does equal 2.
Yeah, but I bet you somebody will be out there with that plastic silicone pan that look cute on Amazon.
Yeah.
That ain't gonna work. You need to get some cast iron pots, you know. But it's just those things that but my mother passed cast iron pots to me, right? And some of them came from my grandmother. And so I bought enough to keep some for me, but then pass some on to my children. And so they all have, cast iron pots and how to use them, how to clean them, how to manage with them. But it is still this reverence, like it's this tension of the reverence of the past, because what just gets my goat is, well, we've always done it that way. Oh my gosh, I just want to fall on the floor and die. Like, don't say that. Like,
Hey, that rubs me so wrong. You always did what that way?
Like, we don't even, like, where do I buy that at? It's not even possible for some things to be done that way, right? We can't, when I was in college, I worked in the music office and I had to type on the typewriter. So you can't ask me now to do it the way we've always done it, because a lot of that doesn't even exist anymore.
Right.
And so it's, but I think the piece that I'm curious about, Sadia, is like, how do we get those who are really still legs of legacy, but they've missed the cue to transcend or transition into a giant? How do we navigate that space?
By, I think, with the history, keep people informed all the time, by making it children need to know what was done and what needs to be done, and then the history continues.
Yeah.
Not much to say, but there's a history.
Yeah. That's it.
Part of the one of the things that we have to understand as being the elders now is
I'm
that
not an elder. I'm not that old. I'm just kidding.
we have to. Well, I'm showing a lot of grades here, so I won't be in denial of how old I am. When we have to be cognizant of when it's time to move out the way. Part of the problem that many, I have to say, elders go through when they don't move out the way is that they've stopped evolving. They stopped learning. Because that's what the saying that you were saying come in, we've always done it this way. Somewhere along the way, you guys have stopped learning. You stop tapping in to the source. And the source is the youth. So understand that you're not going to be here forever. You're not going to be young forever. We're going to grow old. We're going to die. And what do you want to be left here that said you was here? Okay. Again, going back to the beginning of the conversation, either you speaking to one person or 10,000 people, doesn't matter. But when you stop learning, that's when you become stubborn, you become anchored, you even become bitter. You begin to shoot down ideas because you haven't thought of them. And because you are at that space where you can't see the newness of things because you stopped evolving, you stall progress. No matter how big or how small it is, you stall progress. You stall progress of someone who is either making baby steps. You'll stall the progress of a situation that even has big steps. You'll pause a project. And we've all experienced those people who choose not to evolve that has caused a wreckage to happen, a pileup to happen. And because you're patient enough and we're patient enough to work through it, we're the ones who have to sift through it and get the thing back on track. So I urge all the people who are refusing to move out the way, not because we don't have anyone. You got to take the time to groom it. It's a process. It's a process. I mean, it's not microwavable. We didn't get to where we was at because, someone added water to our brain. We had to learn this. Hours of papers. Hey, Chief, you just got you still doing that dissertation, that 58 page you was telling me about. You know what I'm saying? So
almost 125.
Right. Yeah, that. You know what I mean? You see me, I was busting my head on a 25 page one. I was like, she's doing 100, so she's still learning. But like I said, it's about the evolution process, man. And if you're not willing to learn, continue to learn, you're not willing to grow, you're not willing to challenge you every day, no matter how old you are, no matter how young you are, and you're just gonna be in a way.
Yeah, because the world is changing
rapidly.
We need it to change with the world evolving
rapidly. These kids be wondering how I know so much about the iPhone.
Because I was here when it got started.
Bam, and I stayed learning it.
Yeah. I mean, an elder, I love the term, but I think it needs a redefining, because I think it's always meant age. And I think that is what's causing a hiccup, right? Because I don't think elder has anything to do with age, right? I know some people that are 75, they got zero wisdom.
Yeah.
Zero. Like, or, but then there are young people who have and it's situational. I may be able to lean into the concept of bringing wisdom and bringing experience and knowledge and fortitude and focus in a space, but be 25. But in another space, I can't do it there because that's not I don't have that there. Right. And so I think we have to think about redefining or updating the definition of elder, right? And how do we leverage that, and what does it mean in different spaces and places, and how do we embrace? Because I think part of that tension, for my generation, for a generation behind me, that's why we're seeing all these new tables. They're like, you know what? Guess what? You don't want to let us in? You have that. We're going to go make something new. Right. I'm not going to invite you to come over here. And then you're going to look around and you're going to be saying, because we're hearing it everywhere, right? Well, these young people don't know this. Vince, you just said it. The young people don't know that. They don't know how to wash clothes on a washboard. They don't. Right. But it's because, and you're like, why won't they come? Well, there's an old saying that says, if you build it, they will come.
For sure.
So even though some have shown up, it doesn't mean you've built it effectively, because if the right group has not shown up, right? I remember someone telling me that you should never make a decision without at least 4 generations of people. And sometimes we get stuck because I need all those generations to be my family. So if I don't have 4 generations of my family or my immediate circle to make that decision, then, we're gonna, but we don't have the innovation, right? We're not,
Mhm.
we got to think about we're creating a future for the people we won't even live in.
Mhm.
I'm not planning on being here forever. I don't know about y'all, but I mean, I'm not really, I think at a certain point, like even when you think about social media, I've decided anything beyond now, I don't need it.
I'm cool.
I got everything I need. Y'all can talk to me about it, but I don't need it. I'm good. I have enough to manage. And, sometimes I peek over there because I want to know. Like I will come. I will be curious. I will learn with you. But it's just those things. So this has really been great conversation. As we get ready to as we think about reflections and just all that we've shared today and the pondering that we're still going to leave with. The beauty of an uncommon conversation is you still leave thinking about, you know, the questions and the conversation, and it feels undone. But I think that's the beauty is that we don't, everything doesn't have to be finished for it to be good. Right. I enjoyed, dipping my finger in the cake batter. That was good.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna eat a bunch of it, but it was like, oh, that was good. So as we get ready to draw our conversation to a close and we think about the strengths and the resilience and this collective journey of Black legacy, not just here in the United States, but all across the globe, and those connections between us through heritage. What are your final thoughts as we get ready to close?
I think the generations coming in, the youth, should be allowed to participate, take part in decision making. Because there's a quote here that I saw somewhere that we cannot always build the future for our youth, but we can build our youth for the future. Like Franklin, Roosevelt. So I think that if the generation is included in decision making, it will be a great play because where I come from, it be like when elders are talking, you're not supposed to talk. Yeah, and so the youth or the generation are not included in decision making because they feel like their decision or whatever they have to say is not valid because you just young, you don't know what you're saying, but like you said, age is not is not the age is not how old you are, it's what you have, um what your intelligence or what you have to bring to the table.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
Well, for me, uh, there's plenty of work. Oh, you about to say something?
I had a quick thought, I think with Sadia was saying like where she comes from when elders are speaking, you don't speak. And I'm laughing because I'm thinking about when I was a child, I was told when the old people talking, you not talking. This is
Right.
a old people's conversation. So that's what I mean by when we think about Black history and Black voices, we are more alike than we are different. And we have similar struggles, similar challenges. And so I was just chuckling because it popped in my head. I could literally hear my parents saying, so this grown folks conversation. I'm like,
Yeah. I'm grown folks talking, boy, shut up. I just want to say, the work is plenty, but the laborers are few. The work is plenty and the laborers are few. When we speak about the word elder reshaping it, and Chief, you're definitely right about that. Every prophet that was called at an early age, but they work didn't begin until they got older, with the exception of Jesus. And I say that to say this, that there's a calling on everyone. You have to be in the space to accept it. A lot of times you have people who may not seem like they're in the space, but they've accepted it unconsciously because it's innately in them.
So we all have it in us. It's just about when you're called to recognize it, will you answer it? Will people begin to answer the call when it's put out there? So many tables, so many doors, so many rooms. Everybody wants to be a chief. But I tell you, heavy is the head that wears the crown. And not everybody wants that responsibility. So again, going back to the conversation, when I said earlier that we have to know as how to pass this on. Like you said, the rub is important, and we need to understand why the rub is not. Why is it a rub and not a hug, not a handshake, not a pamphlet? Improve on this. This is what we did so far, but here's the baton. We have to be willing to give it up. And if you're not willing to die to it and know that it's not yours, that you created anyway, you're gonna die with it, all right, and it's gonna die with you. I want to read something, and this is I live my life by this every day, and it's the name of it is called The Process. Success is a formidable opponent that many of us can't conquer. It's not just because it's unattainable. It's just we usually don't make it there because of the greater opponent, the process. The process is not what you do, but what you get done. It's the amount of dedication it takes to stick to it, and the process will eventually determine who obtains success. Stop focusing on the success and armor up for the process.
Yeah, that's good.
That's all I got.
Yeah. I want to say thank you to both of you, our incredible panel, right? Black Legacy Architects, your wisdom. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your experiences, your aspirations, your doubts, your curiosities with us today. Your voices are instrumental in shaping the future of Black Legacy, not as an echo, but as a voice. And thank you to our audience for joining us for this uncommon conversation. We hope that you found inspiration, insights, curiosities, and it resonates with you on your own journey, because we all have the capacity to be contributing architects in our legacy, especially the Black legacy. It's been my pleasure to be your guide on this discussion. Stay inspired, stay connected, and keep building the legacy that the future generations will be proud to stand upon. And until next time, I want to leave you with this question. It's an uncommon question. The future is calling. What must you say no to now in order to say yes to that future? Have a great afternoon or morning or wherever time it is where you are.